this video, I kind of wanted to talk about, some of the experiences I've had, with dating while having a seizure disorder, because it's definitely not, something that most people enjoy dealing with. I definitely don't enjoy having seizures, and I don't enjoy having to explain to people, especially people that I barely know and that I'm just meeting for the first time, that I have a seizure disorder, and kind of explaining to them what that means and kind of what to expect. And a lot of people, like a lot of men that I've talked to, throughout my dating periods, they tend to disappear really fast when you start talking about, serious medical conditions like that. I've had quite a few guys, that I've talked to on online dating sites or, in person, who I've met, who say that they're okay with it, and then they actually witness you having a seizure, and it's a totally different story because, you can say that you're okay with something, and then when you actually witness it, it becomes real. And they're like, oh wow, I don't want to deal with this on a regular basis. I don't want to have to see you go through that, or whatever their excuse may be for not wanting to be with you anymore and not being interested in dating you once they see that kind of thing happen. And, I've had seizures for a few years, and right now my seizures are not controlled by medication. They have been in the past. I was on a few different medications that worked for me for a period of time, and then, eventually they would stop working. And right now there is not a medication that is able to control my seizures. So I basically just have to deal with them for now until they're able to find something that works for me. I am working with a neurologist to try to deal with that issue, so hopefully, sometime in the near future, I'll be able to find a medication that works for me to stop, the number of seizures. Well, ideally it would stop the seizures from happening, but if that doesn't happen, at least, decreasing the number of occurrences that I have. But just kind of dating when you have a seizure disorder is a little bit harder than dating as a quote-unquote normal person, because when you're dating and you don't really have that type of a medical condition, people tend to overlook a lot of your flaws. And people can say that they'll overlook seizures, but like I said, when they actually see it happening, it becomes a different story. I've had guys who have witnessed me having a not having a seizure disorder, I have that 24/7, but having a seizure in front of them, or over the webcam on Skype or Uvu or whatever, and, they're totally freaked out by it. And I understand that, because seizures are not something that you play with. Seizures are a very serious thing, and they can be very harmful, and they can ultimately cause death, in the wrong type of a situation, or if you injure yourself during a seizure, death can happen from a seizure. And so I can understand why someone wouldn't necessarily want to deal with someone who has that type of medical condition. But at the same time, you have to remember that the person behind the medical condition has a heart. They have feelings too, and even though you might not want to deal with the medical condition, you don't have to make them feel stupid for it. Because I have had quite a few people who have witnessed me having a seizure, and then, they treat me like I'm mentally challenged. They treat me like I'm disabled, which I am disabled, obviously. But at the same time, just because I have a disability, that doesn't mean that I want to be treated like I'm disabled. I'm a normal human being just like everybody else, and honestly, even people with, problems as far as being mentally challenged, or mentally delayed in any type of way, I don't see them as having, being disabled. I see them as normal people. They just see things their own way, which is, that's pretty much how everybody does it. But I think, when you have a seizure disorder, it's different because people see you in these really I mean, you're really vulnerable when you have a seizure. Anything could happen. And let's say someone was uncomfortable with it and they just decided to leave. I mean, I've never honestly had that happen, but it would just be really awkward. And honestly, when I've had seizures in front of people that I don't really know that well, I do feel awkward, and I'm very self-conscious after it happens. You know, once I realize that I just had a seizure, I'm very self-conscious, and I'm uncomfortable, and it feels awkward. Um, you know, I'm glad that I have a man in my life who is able to overlook me having a seizure. You know, obviously he worries about me, you know, because he loves me. But, you know, he's overlooking the fact that I have a seizure disorder. And, you know, he told me that it doesn't matter because he loves me, which is something that I've been looking for. You know, I've been looking for that type of love. And I think that, you know, you have to find a real man or a real woman in order to overlook certain things. And not just overlook, because that sounds really bad, you know, because it's basically saying that it's an issue that you need to just not pay attention to. I would say, you know, that it takes a real human being with a heart to want to be with someone who has a medical condition and deal with it. You know, be there to support you when you're at your lowest, or when you're having a weak point. And you know, I'm just so thankful that, you know, after all of the hellish experiences that I've had with online dating and having to explain to people that I have this medical condition that, you know, drives me crazy personally, you know, that I was able to find this man, this special man in my life who, you know, just brightens up my day and encourages me not to talk down about myself, and encourages me, you know, to just be myself, because he loves me for me, and he accepts me for me, and you know who I am, and my seizure disorder, and you know my disability. And you know, I'm just thankful for that. So for any of you guys out there who have a medical condition or a seizure disorder, mental health problems, mental illness, whatever it may be, don't give up hope, because you know, it may seem like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, which it did seem that way for me, but then I found my boyfriend, and I'm so very thankful that, you know, he came into my life, and I appreciate him and love him so much for that. And if you're watching, I do love you. But yeah, if there are any other topics that you would like to hear me talk about, please be sure to let me know, and I will do my best to get those videos recorded for you. And until next time, stay beautiful and stay blessed.